Okay, guys. So today we are going to discuss a very exciting topic in change management. Yeah, and this topic is about, as you are seeing on your screen, it is talking about the cultural change. So we would like to discuss today what is the relationship of culture and change. That is what we would like to discuss today. So let me start by asking a very simple question, and please participate in this discussion. Um, what is culture, and what do you think? How it is linked with change management of change? Any type of initiative which takes place at home, at work, with friends, with family, in any way, how that is linked with the culture of whatever whatever change we are going to implement. So basic question, what is change and why do you think it is important or linked with the culture? What do you, uh, so sorry, what is culture and how culture is linked with change? Yeah, go ahead please. Yes, Michaela.
Culture is your way of life and how your way of doing things. It's like Christianity, that on Sundays you go to church or on Saturdays you go to church and praise the Lord. So in this way, culture doesn't have to be about religion. It can also be about the things that you do on a regular basis. For example, a person who is usually slow moving and does things at a slow pace, when they're in an organization, they know that they have to change that behavior and be more swift and get things done faster. So they have to change their way of life to adjust to the surroundings that they are now a part of.
Very good, very profound. Thanks for that. So again, same question. Please participate in the discussion. What is culture and why it is important in change management? What do you think? We have had a lot of discussions throughout the semester. What is your understanding? Don't give any definition from the book or anywhere. It is just your own understanding. Yeah. So please go ahead. Uh, please go ahead and tell us what is what is what is culture and why it is important in change management. What is the significance of culture? uh, why we should consider the culture of the place, of the human being, of the individual, of team, of the organization, when we are in any type of change initiative. Anything you want to say on that, please go ahead. And TCR, you have raised your hand. TCR Janelle, please go ahead. Yes, Brandon, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning. I think one of the most important things when recognizing culture in the context of managing change is that basically what culture is the way in which people are accustomed to doing certain things. It is the core, culture is one of those factors in change management, which is the core of why people want to stick to a certain way of doing things. So I think one important thing to know when considering culture in change management is that culture is one of those factors of an individual or even an organization where if you want to initiate a change, many people may resist that change due to their traditional cultural practices. So culture is one of the most important or significant things you want to consider if you want to initiate change for an individual or an organization, because ultimately culture may be the strongest element in determining whether a change may be successful or not. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much. Very deep, insightful. Let's reflect on these pointers which our friends raised. So, Michaela, she's telling us that culture is essentially way of life. Yeah, it is way of life, the way people spend their life. So, any type of change you are going to make in their way of life, if I replace culture with way of life, then maybe it is interesting to reflect on this. That What is the impact of culture on change? And Michaela is saying way of life. Culture is way of life. So what is the impact of your way of life on change? How you spend your time? How you go about doing different things? Yeah. So think about it. How deep is the connection of way of life or culture is with it? And Brandon is telling us very interesting thing. He mentioned some terminologies which I would like to repeat. For example, he's saying that the way we are accustomed to do things, accustomed, that is our custom to do things. We have grown up, we have seen that this is how things are done again and again. The people we appreciate, they do the things. If you are talking about family culture or family way of life, who you look up to when you are young? Generally speaking, your elders, your big brothers, big sisters, uncle, aunts, mommy, daddy, so on. Yeah. So they are the ones from whom you are getting inspiration. And growing up, you would think that whatever they are saying is right, because they have their good intention in heart for you. They are more experienced and so on. So from there, you get accustomed, you get customized to do things in a certain way. So think about that. Once you are grown up, and while you are growing up, let's think about it a little bit. So um, think about this pandemic, from coming from Wuhan, and coming from that market where they have animals. And think about it, when the people who eat those type of animals, yeah, generally speaking, if I say, oh, what do you think about, people eat frogs and snakes and all those type of animals, uh, all of us are going to make faces, and you're going to say, no, this is, what is this, what is this. But think about that. Those people who are eating these type of animals, when they were born, they were babies. As they were growing up, this is what they were seeing. So they were getting customized, as Brandon is saying. They were getting accustomed to this way of life. For them, it is eating frog or snake is just like, for us it is eating pork or chicken or whatever. Yeah. Well, I don't eat pork, so I should not have said us. But then everyone don't eat pork. But I hope you are understanding what is the underlying principle I am trying to convey. So think about it, how hard it is. So if we bash those people who eat the things which we don't like. So for example, if someone eat chicken, there are many people who are vegetarian, and for them, eating chicken is like, they are going to say, how you could eat chicken, that is alive, and you cook it, and imagine if someone do it for you, and all those type of things. But for us, if we are eating chicken and we are enjoying it, for us it will be very hard to really understand or decustomize, as Brandon, I like that word, accustomed. Yeah. So think about that. How deep is culture? You are growing up. Then think about environment. How the environment is going to shape you. Your environment. We think that this is how we are. Whatever we are. If we are studious, if we are very lazy, or any positive or negative habit. If you think about it, yes, it might be the case where you have also done something, but many times it is the environment which has influenced you in one way or another to become the way of a person or shape of the person which you have taken. Yeah. So environment, think about that. Think about the influence of other people as you are developing a culture for yourself, culture of your family. So I'm a thought is coming in my mind. I think it was Brandon who said in the conclusion section of the last session, and he was saying that, think about it. Although Jamaica is not a big country in any way, we are small island in size and in numbers. But think about it, that he was saying that how many cultures are there in Jamaica, different type of cultures. Even the dialect changes a little bit of our language, Patwa, in different communities, a little bit. Um, and there are some words which, a person in Kingston, he might not understand of Patwa even if they go to nearby cities, like even the furthest part, let's say, let's they go to some communities in Montego Bay, they might not understand some of the words, although they are brought and raised in Jamaica throughout their life, but there can be some changes in words or the way they use some words. Of course they will get a hang by other things, by environment and by thinking about the context in which the word is used. But I hope you can think about these things. So one point was accustomed habit. Then another point which I took from Brandon was tradition, traditional practice, tradition. This is our tradition, and think about it, how dear people uh, keep to themselves the tradition, the way of doing things. This is our tradition. This is the way we do things here. People take pride in this. uh, Generally speaking, you ask anyone, Michaela mentioned something about religion. So anyone who is part of any religion, they are going to be proud of their religion. Someone who is Hindu, he is going to say his religion is right. Someone who is Christian, he is going to say his religion is right. I am Muslim, so of course I am going to say and I believe that my religion is right. So what is that? That is that is irrespective of having a religious conversation, because that is not where we are going. We are just trying to understand the dynamics of culture and change. So for anyone who has seen a certain type of religion growing up, not saying that people don't change their religion and so on, other things happen, again environment, what type of people they meet, how they get influenced by them and so on, what life experiences they have, they also have some implication. But generally speaking, if you look at the world population, generally speaking, people who are born in one religion, generally speaking, they will end up dying in the same religion. They are they People do change. I'm not saying that they don't change, but I'm trying to have a generalized position that majority of the population, overwhelming population number of people, whatever religion they have, they die in the same religion, generally speaking. Why is that? That is being accustomed, that is being linked with tradition, that is linked with way of life. So they think that this is what it is. Now think about this, on a I'm trying to go a little bit, I want to divert a little bit, linking it with our context in Jamaica. So think about, if this is true, because I don't want to say that what is true and what is not. This is just discussion. You are going to decide for yourself what works for you. So think about, in this context which we are setting, what is the importance of family? How important family and environment becomes. Because where you are going to get your tradition, where your way of life, yes, from overall your community and overall your city and your country also, but because you are being raised and born in a certain family, the formative years, which are like 3, 4, 5. As a matter of fact, some research says that by the time you are 7, you have formed some great habits, which are some strong habits, which might not be very easy to change. If you remember, in one of the discussions we were talking about conscious and unconscious habits in the earlier part of our discussions, like in session 1 or 2. This thing came up that many habits we pick up, many times they are unconscious. uh, so think about that, what is the importance of that, and think about that, like the family structure, generally speaking is broken in our country, which is sad, but that is how it is for now. So think about it. What can be the fallout on developing good habits on this? Because we assumed, we like the pretext of our discussion was that our elders, our elder brother, sister, mummy, daddy, guardians, whoever they are, they have their best interest in our heart, and they are going to teach us the good habits, good skills, good way of thinking, and all that. So if they are not there, then how easy it would be for some people to form bad habits in their formative year, going into their youth, and then what can be the impact of the society, and then how hard it can be to rehabilitate them. Yeah, very easy to say, well, put them in the rehabilitation center and then change their habits, whatever habits they are. If youth is involved in some drugs, if youth is involved in some bad practices, bad behavior, crime, anything you can think about, whatever generally speaking vices youth has generally. So how hard it can be for them to change that. So think about what can be done in those situations, um, to mitigate the challenges which a bad cultural influence can have on the management of good change or good behavior, good habits, and so on. Yeah. And the third point, final point, how Brandon concluded was is that culture might be the strongest element in change. It might determine if change is going to be taking place or not. That is the significance of culture. Yeah. So then, and then think, and now link, you have to make the linkages that, everyone is thinking that their religion is right. Everyone is thinking their culture is right. Everyone is thinking the habit they have is right. For example, the way I am communicating, the way I am talking, or generally I talk, the way you have seen me, I feel that that is the best way. I'm sure there are many people right now in the session who would disagree. They say, no, this is not the right way. He should not say that. He should maybe this, and everyone has their own opinion. So how hard it will be for me to change, and how hard it would be for you to change if you think whatever I'm doing is wrong, or some things I'm doing are wrong, or whatever. So think about that. It might be the strongest element in change. But anyway, those were some thoughts which keep in my mind and wanted to share with you. But I want to go back with you and please help us in understanding this point. This is a very interesting topic. So again, I'm opening the floor. Please participate in the discussion. Simple question is, uh, what is culture? Please tell us what is your understanding of culture, and why do you think it is important? Or you can take the other point of view. You don't have to agree that it is important or it is the most important element. You don't have to say that. You can say any other thing, like whatever you believe. So simple question is, please go ahead. What is culture, and why do you think it is important? Can anyone give any example where culture helped them to make the change, or they saw that culture enabled someone else to make the transition more easy? Or do you have any examples where culture was the hindrance, where people could not change or you could not change? If you reflect, there are so many examples. Yeah, so please go ahead and participate in this discussion by using your mic. Unfortunately, I'm not looking at the text for now. Yes, Oksana, please go ahead.
From my experience when I went on the work and travel last year. So I went to Branson, Missouri, and I worked at an amusement park, the truck, and I brought some saltfish, some packed saltfish, and I prepared it, brought it for my lunch, but they had no idea what saltfish was. So I said, okay, I'll prepare some and take it for you. And they had a feast, and they actually said they're going to try it. And somebody baked mashed potato, one of the supervisors, so we shared our culture while on the.
Yes, very interesting. Very interesting. These things can happen. Yes, Jan, understanding of culture. And how do you view the relationship of culture with the change management? What are your thoughts on that? Anything you can say, any example, anything you observed, anything you can say on that? Maybe I can share it with you on a lighter note. Uh, well, on a lighter note, but this is how it is, and this is, I think, this is the truth. So think about the culture of our session. What has been the culture of our session since we started this semester? Either we were meeting face to face or in the online format. So generally speaking, culture was that I would want to, as a facilitator, I would want to maybe raise some questions and see what you guys are saying, and then eventually build on it and try to have some discussion on that. And that is what has been the culture. So that that, that for that culture to prosper, the there is a lot of things which you would have to do for that type of culture to prosperous. Otherwise it is not going to happen. So think about this. This is not the first session. We are almost at the verge of concluding our semester, and this is how we have been doing. So think about it. 11, 12 weeks we have been doing it. But think about it, like how hard it is for you guys to say anything on this simple question. So I'm asking again and again, what is culture? What do you think? Uh, what is the relationship of culture and change? It seems a very, easy question. Other people have made some comments. Brandon has said few things. Michaela has said few things. Alano has said few things. Three people have, four, a couple of other people have. Janelle has said maybe something. Oksana is trying to say something, but I think she's having some trouble with the mic and so on. But think about it. We have like 50 participants right now. 50, yeah. So out of that, three, four, five are saying. And look that noted that this is not the first session. This is, that this is going to happen. That as you are coming in, you knew. This is not a surprise. Surprise would be that if I started running PowerPoint slides, you would say, "What is this? This is something new, which you have not seen in our sessions at least." Yeah. So this was not surprise. Then think about it, the type of atmosphere we try to create in our sessions. Like from the day one, I don't remember that any one of you said anything. I might disagree with that thing in my heart, but I did not. I tried my best not to make it obvious, and I tried to help you participate in the discussion, and I tried to make some meaning out of whatever you guys said. So you guys are like comfortable that no matter what you are going to say, no one is going to tell you that you are wrong, or disrespect you in any way, or that is the environment in which you have to say something. But think about it. Still, it is so hard for you. It is hard. And should I become upset? Should I become angry? Should I become mad? Should I say that, oh, people don't cooperate with me? I am trying my best and this and that, and this is like now 12th session, and still, I am asking a simple question and they are not, they are not participating. And no, that would be wrong. Uh, Change is just hard. It is just that you are not used to this. Maybe for some reason you are not comfortable. Yes, it has been 12 weeks. Yes, whatever you say, we try to make something out of that. uh, all those things, yes. But when you come to a session, you have your own tradition, you have your own habits, the way you have been having sessions throughout your life, at least in the university. Generally speaking, it is generally speaking, it is one way communication, generally speaking. And For sure, not as much as of a discussion as we try to have. Generally speaking, there might be a couple of people, but that is not the norm. So that is not how you are. You joined university, or that is not your experience. So for you to change 12 weeks, 13 weeks is not enough time. It is just not. It might seem that it is a good amount of time, but it is just the habit, just the nature of habits, that it is very hard to change. So what I'm trying to say is, when you are dealing with people and you want them to change, can you imagine how eager I am to listen to your points, how eager I am to know what do you think, and you say something and we build on that, how much interested I am very much interested. But it is not happening that way. So okay, everything is not going to happen the way I want. That is not how life is going to work. Same way for all of us, you guys also. When you are going to change people, how you are, if you were in my situation, how would you react? You have to think about that. And maybe, and I'm very sure that you guys are smart people, maybe you have some other techniques which could be used in these times. But what I'm trying to say is, when you are trying to change other people, you have to think about these things, that how hard it can be. You have to ask yourself that when someone asked you to change, how hard it was for you to change. And even when you changed, what was the motive? What made you change? So the underlying line principle I want to share with you. So forget about all these things which I have been saying for the last 5 minutes. Let me sum it in one line. Yeah. So forget about what I was saying like 5-10 minutes, and let me sum it in one line. So that one line or two lines would be that people change when they feel like changing, when they want to change. Not that you are doing something and they will listen to you and they will change. You might think that they are changing because you said something. No, internally speaking also, there would be some desire in them to change, to cooperate, and so on. So think about this. I was saying all these things for the last 5 minutes, but think about it. How many people have raised their hands to say something? There are two people. Yeah, there are two. So if I were that what that if I were that of an influence or that of a change agent, then everyone would have raised their hand. But it is not going to happen. So for me, even if after this conversation, even if one person says something, I should look at that as a win. So what I'm trying to say, whenever you are in change situation, don't give up. And if you are going to give up very easily, then don't go for it, because it is not going to come easy. A lot of effort you will have to put in. So if it is a change initiative where you are going to give your all, you are going to work hard, you are not going to get demoralized easily. Whatever happens, you will just consistently work on your goal. Only then go for change efforts. Otherwise, you will say, oh, I tried and it did not work. I tried and it did not work. Generally speaking, people say that. People try to change someone. Oh, I tried. I was there, for 6 months, a year, and the person did not change. You guys are not changing in 13 weeks. It is like three months, 4 months. You are not changing. If you are not speaking before, you are not speaking now. You are not. Yeah. So this simple habit, you are not taking it. Yeah. So how you would want someone to change some other major habits in 6 months or 1 year, especially in the context which Michaela and Brandon has set for us, that culture is a way of life. People are accustomed to do things in certain way. Yeah. So think about this. This is very interesting. Yes, please go ahead. Don't worry about the queue. Just open your mic and go ahead. Yes, Matthew, I think you are there. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
yes, sir.
Okay.
I I was thinking about the whole culture and management of change. And I understand what culture is the way you're socialized, your way of life, your traditions, how you grow up, basically. What you learn, what is the first thing you think about, the first way you react to something. And I'm saying from a business perspective, it must be really hard to change something if it's that, if especially an individual or a team or a group of people, if that is their culture, if their first instinct is to do what you don't want them to do, which is why you're trying to change. I mean, that must be very, very hard. It's like with the class. We've been having this class for 4 months, 5 months now, and nobody still talks. Well, not a lot of people talk or participate because that's just not the way they were grown to be, or it's just not. They just don't like that. So I'm saying, change, culture and change. It's almost kind of, I don't want to say conflicting, but it's very hard to meet in the middle with them because of how complex culture is and how complex change can be. I don't know if I'm making much sense, but it just seems like a very difficult thing to do, especially from a business perspective. So I was saying the business would have to come really good in order to change how someone thinks, whether through incentives, but especially if it's from a religious perspective, then that's just a whole clash that can cause either that person to end up leaving, or somebody not being interested in the job, or even somebody just losing their job because they can't change for this company.
Thank you very much
Um,
for these pointers, Matthew. Very interesting points. And let me say something on the class participation, because couple of things I want to say. Otherwise, you might feel negative about it. So what when you are not participating, when you are not participating in the discussion, whose fault is it? We need to blame someone. If something is not happening, we need to say that, okay, this thing did not happen. It is human tendency. We need to blame someone. So as the facilitator of the class, when you are not going to participate, as a change agent, I am going to blame myself. That is how my mind works. Everyone is different. So when you are not participating, I need to ask myself, and blame is not a negative word. You can use it in a positive sense. So what I mean is that when you are not participating, I need to reflect within. I need to ask myself that what else I can do so you are more comfortable in saying what you have to say. So that
sir,
is something which I need to ask myself, internally speaking. Your own practice. You need to think within when change is not happening. Yes, of course, after some time you will say, all right, you tried your best. It did not work. If it did not work, it did not work. But what I'm trying to say that before you do that, before you say those type of things, other party, that you are not participating, you are not saying something in the discussion and so on, the facilitator of the session, they need to ask themselves that what else they can do, or what is there anything else they can do, or any other words they can use. That type of thinking is very important. So in one line or two, what I'm trying to say is that when change does not happen in a cultural setting, because cultures are very strong and all those type of things, ask yourself what you can do differently before you blame the other person. It is very easy to blame other people, very easy, very easy, very easy. So if someone failed the course, who do you blame? Yeah, a very interesting question. So for me, the way my mind works, I would blame maybe myself. I would ask myself that what else I could have done. Maybe I did that. Maybe I should have done it that. And then, don't, you just learn from that. And next time when you go in that same situation, you try those things. Not everything will work. And then next time you try new things. And over a period of time, you will get a hang of some type of collaboration, some type of assistance from the people who you are trying to change a little bit. And think about it, this is a very small change. You just have to open mic and speak, but then it is a very big change for someone who has not done it so often. Yeah, so think about that. Second point which Matthew mentioned, and I really want to talk about it, it is exceptional point. Exceptional point, Matthew. Thank you very much for that. The way Matthew explained culture, he said that it is the first way you react. First way you react. This is what he said. What comes to your mind first and you react. This is very important because read some literature on this. That so the researchers are saying that most of the times the first thing, especially in terms of reactions, which come in our mind are not very productive, are not very good. They are generally speaking negative. Generally speaking. Now you have to reflect in your own life. When something happens which you don't like, someone do something against your wish, makes you angry, makes you sad, makes you cry, whatever. What is the first thought which comes to your mind? You have to think about it. What is the first thought? Your reaction. Reaction, generally speaking, is not good. If someone has, said something bad to you, your reaction is to say even worse things to them. That is generally speaking. If you are not trained, you are going to react like that. Even if you are well read on the topic, still you are going to make some blunders. And please remember my example of which I shared with you about in the gas station, what happened with me in the gas station, Mona gas station. I can tell you many more. I make those type of blunders all the time. I'm sure you guys also do those type of things. So think about that. So if that is true, then you need to always, whenever you are reacting, you in the especially in the cultural change dynamics, whenever you are reacting, and first thought which comes to your mind, always ask yourself, this first thought which came to my mind, should I say it? Should I not say it? If I'm going to say it, how should I say it? How should I word it? What would be the impact if I say it? Because once you have said, you have said. You can't take it back. You cannot take it back. People will forgive you. People will say no problem. They will say, but somewhere they will remember. Somewhere they will remember. So before you say, before you react, you need to think about it. Essentially, because research indicates that first reaction which comes to your mind, especially when something bad happens, generally speaking, it is negative. You can think about that. Yeah, yes guys, please go ahead. So simple question, what is culture, and how you link it with change management? Yeah, we have a lot of people now, so thank you very much for that. Please go ahead.
Sir?
Please go ahead.
Oh, finally. Okay. As you were speaking about persons not participating, I'm not gonna say it's completely culturally based, but in the Caribbean we have a culture where people are somewhat judgmental and you don't want to be wrong. So sometimes a lot of persons want to participate and they know the answers to questions, but in the back of their mind is like, is this person going to judge and going to think that I'm stupid? So those are kind of the things that might be going through some person's mind. For myself personally as well, because I would be in a class and a teacher would ask a question, work out the answer, but it's like, is it the right answer? Is it the right? Because you would think back, you would think back to primary school where if you're in class and you say something wrong, a group of children are gonna be like, oh no, she wrong, she's stupid, whatever, whatever. So we have a culture in the Caribbean of being kind of judgmental and to attack people on their blunders. So maybe that is why. But for me as well, we're a culture where culture comes into play with my change is that I am an international student. And when I came to Jamaica for the first time, it was a complete and utter cultural shock. The way they spoke, their music, their food. So I had to not say change my culture, but be more open and accepting to their cultures and to the persons I met there as well. And then I found out the Jamaican culture and the Nigerian culture in common is just that we have different names for a lot of things. So when I hear them talk about this fish called Connie Buck Buck, and I'm like, what is a Connie Buck Buck? And I come home and I see the pictures of what they call Connie Buck Buck. We have the same thing. So I realized that I didn't have to change my culture completely, but just open up my mind to culture. And it helped me be able to feel more comfortable in the place. I was able to manage my anxiety about being away from my family. So culture and change does not just affect the workplace, it affects how persons live day to day. If they're put into a different situation for school, when you move to another place. So that is how culture and change have not impacted or have an effect on me personally.
Yes, thank you very much, Oksana. Really appreciate your feedback, especially you are coming from another country, beautiful Jamaica. So what you said is very interesting points you have made. One thing I would want to really talk about what Oksana said. She said you do not want to be wrong. You do not want to be wrong. Yeah, when you say something, you don't want people to laugh at you. You don't want to feel that, oh, this is stupid. But think about it. But even before that, let me assure you that please participate in the discussion. I don't think that anyone in our session is going to laugh at you. All of us are going to make some sense out of this. But let me reflect on the things I say. Whatever I have been saying, I have been talking a lot because this is discussion based. So in every session, and I would say that more or less because of the nature of the discussion and so on, somewhere along the line it is easier for you to have a good understanding of what would be my personality like. If someone asks you what is the personality of this person, you might be able to say something because I was giving you many examples from my own life, also my own experiences, also how I look at things and so on. But think about it, what Oksana is saying. Yeah, she's saying you do not want people, you do not want to be wrong. You don't want other people to laugh at you. But think about it. Whatever I have been saying, is it the case that all of you, 100% of the participant, everyone said that, oh, it makes sense? No, I am sure it did not happen like that. You guys did not say it for some reason, but I'm sure that there are some people sitting in our session that it does not make sense. Whatever he's saying, it is this don't make sense, or this is not right, or and even maybe laugh on some of the things in a good way or bad. But it is up to me how I take that. Yeah. So what I want to say essentially is that if you want to be successful in change management and even generally in life, if you want to be successful, how are you going to learn and new things, and how you are going to be successful? How people generally learn new things? How do they learn it? Reflect on it. They do something, they make some mistakes, blunders, and people laugh, and then they learn, and then they make some mistakes, and then so what I'm trying to say, people generally speaking, they have to make a lot of mistakes. People are going to say something every now and then. You do something, people are going to say that, oh, this is not right, do it like this, do it like this, do it like that. People are always going to say that. When you fail, people are going to laugh. Those same people, when you become successful, they are going to find some relationship with you. That is how it is. So yes, sometimes, we have to see what other people are saying. Yes, that is maybe, in a society that is also important, but don't take it to your heart. People are always going to say things which are going to bring you down, or, bring your morale down. So think about that, please. Very good points. Yes, next one, please. Go ahead.
Sir, when I think of culture, I don't know why, I thought about the franchises like KFC. How the KFC in Jamaica may taste different than the one in the US or India or China because they have to learn the culture for spices and those stuff for us to purchase the items.
That is interesting point, and you should be able to link it with other type of businesses, because many people, many Jamaicans, when they go overseas and they try KFC, they say that, this KFC don't taste the way it is back home. So why is that? They are KFC is trying to understand the cultural preferences of taste buds of the people who are going to consume it here, in terms of taste, in terms of look, in terms of size, all those type of things. And that is one of the reasons that KFC is doing very well in Jamaica. Good point. So again, the question is, what is your understanding of culture, and how do you view the relationship of culture with change? Please go ahead.
Sir, because culture is so deep rooted, I believe that persons find it very hard to change. And as Osana said before, you have to be open minded. But I believe that some persons, this open minded thing won't work for them. So sometimes, in order for a person to change it, there has to be an incentive. For example, this class. I'm sure that if I said, sir, that if anyone here participated or participates, you'll give them like a 80% added, or they will immediately pass this course. I'm sure that everyone who was reluctant to participate in this class, everyone would suddenly change. Everybody would try to participate, or not. Most persons, or not even all of them, would participate. So I believe that sometimes persons, there has to be an incentive in order for somebody to change, or there has to be some kind of great challenge or some kind of matter in order for a person to put in some effort to want to change, because culture is very strong and deep rooted, and it's hard for someone to come out of their culture and accept something else.
I definitely loved it. I loved it. Very good point. Yeah. So our friend has spoken about two different things. So one is, she made the point. She's reiterating the first point, which we have said, that it is deep rooted. Yeah. So all that discussion which we had in the earlier part of the session, it is indeed deep rooted. So it will be a little challenging how to change it. So the second example she is giving, I really like that. I would like to really talk about it. So she continued with the same discussion which I was, with the example I gave, that, friends are not participating and so on, and what can be done. So she's telling us that, and she's right, that people are driven by some type of reward. They always want to know what is in it for them. So if there was some incentive, any type of incentive, for example, some marks, we had this little chat, very brief, like 2 minute chat in one of the sessions also. So I asked you guys what I can do, and you guys gave me uh, some some uh, some suggestions, like, I'm sure you remember if you were there. So incentives, and then people would change. So this, you really have to be thoughtful about this. Really have to be thoughtful. Yes, of course. If I tell you guys that, okay, all you have to do is just come on the mic, say 2 or 3 lines, and I'm going to participate. I'm going to pass you in the participation or whatever. That is going to change your behavior. That is going to change your behavior, because we want to pass. So you would want to do that. But the way I am looking at it, I am thinking is that, yes, change will happen, but what did you really want to do what I was telling you, or you did it for some other reason? So when I tell you that, okay, come and participate and whatever, what is the underlying reason that you would want to make that change? Is it only because of grades or is it something else? Maybe are you seeing some benefit of this exercise or some other reason? But anyways, when you are trying to change other people, anyone, forget about this example which we are talking about, class participation. This is okay if you are not, it's I will be sad, yes, if you don't participate, but I will come out of it eventually. But think about other situations where you want to change someone and you have to give them incentive. How feasible is that? It is like, it is like, I will love you if you give me that. I will love you if you give me that. I will respect you more if you give me that. I will be kind with you if you give me that. Think about this. Of course, when people are loving someone or respecting someone or being kind to someone, still they are gaining something from that. But if you make it very obvious that, okay, if you if you participate in the discussion, I will give you 5 marks. Then what is the drive of that discussion? That discussion is not for the sake of having a discussion. That conversation is not truthful. It is not that you want to say something and you are there. It is kind of forced. Those marks are forcing you to say something. That would be very sad to me, personally speaking. So now when you are in the change situation, you have to think about this incentives, because a lot of people talk about it all the time, especially in our discussions. People always say reward, give some, increase the salary, do this, do that. I'm not saying those things are not important, but they somehow they make the relationship a little bit shallow. It's not as strong as it could be. But again, this is how I am thinking. You can think in your own circumstances, in your own upbringing. If you think that reward is reward and you can always give some reward to people and get the thing from them, whatever you want, yes, go ahead. But then people are not there for you. People are there for some other reason, whatever incentives you are giving them. So the moment you won't be able to give them the incentive, then they are going to go back to their same norm. Because how much incentive you can give, how much incentive you can give of any nature, once the incentive is over, what would you do? That is an interesting question to think about. But I am not saying incentives don't work. They do work, of course. But it depends on you. Do you want people to change after you give them incentives, or you want them to change just because they understand why it is important to change? That is a very deep question you should ask whenever you are in a change situation. Of course, you can give incentive of any nature. And this is where the dilemma is. So on one way, I am saying that incentive, try to do something without incentive. On the other hand, we all know that people will change only when they see something for themselves. So this is the dilemma which you would want to catch and think about. Yes, Sheldon, please go ahead.
Okay, yes, sir. For me, in terms of the definition, this basically standard in saying that culture is a way of life and it's our norms and values. Uh, in terms of what I would focus on though is that culture tend to create a space of comfort, uh, and as a result, how it affects change management is that we would have to get out of that comfort zone, and I think that's where lies the difficulty in persons
accepting whatever change that is being said in a particular company. It's what's causing difficulty for us to participate more, because it is outside of our comfort zone to participate. Some persons may develop a culture of adjusting to their environment or changing what they are used to, or their comfort zone. For example, persons who travel to different places, they may recognize that an international student is easier for them to come out of their comfort zone because they're used to adjusting. One example that I was thinking of is my family in terms of their comfort zone. Like one side of family, as you know how Jamaicans are used to their like rice and peas and chicken. Like one side of my family, what they cook on each day of a week from Sunday to Sunday, they have a specific thing that they cook on each day. And for them, if you try to adjust a particular day to something else, it's difficult, especially for the persons who are older in the family. It's difficult for them to change and accept that change, because it's like it's pushing them outside of their comfort zone. So me, I think that's the difficulty. Even with insensitive, in terms of my thought on that, is that each person, the incentive that they would want, it varies from person to person. Say for example, if you might say I might get like 1% if I participate. For some persons, 1% addition to their grade is not enough. Um, so for some persons it would have been to pass the course. For some person it would have been to get an A. For some persons even that won't benefit them. So incentive may work to an extent, but it will be difficult to have it where it works for everybody. And as you said, persons will be doing it for the wrong reasons. And your reason for wanting them to participate is that for them to be willing to learn, to engage in the course, so that it will be more memorable. So it varies from person to person, but my approach to it is that it's comfort. Culture creates a place of comfort, and that will determine if the person is willing or not willing.
Exceptional points, Sheldon, and thanks very much for these pointers. Want to talk about one thing which Sheldon is talking about. He a couple of times he mentioned comfort zone. So he gave example of his family and so on. But generally speaking, that is how it is. So we make some habits, tradition, whatever it is, and we develop some habits. And after a period of time, we are comfortable in repeating those habits. So that becomes our comfort zone, and then it can be very challenging, almost very close to impossible. Well, nothing is impossible, but very hard to break those habits. I want to share something with you, which I read. It's very interesting. I hope you can reflect on it in your own time and see what you can think about this. So this, not read. I think I was listening to this interview, and the guy said that no habit is good. No habit is good. Any habit, no matter how good it looks, it is not good. Any habit you develop, it is not good. This is very interesting point, because of course there are some habits which are good and some habits which are bad. But the guy was saying that there is no habit which is good. Once it is a habit, it cannot be good, because it becomes a habit. You become accustomed to that. Eventually you find comfort zone in that habit. Once that happens, you cannot break it if the situation requires. There might be a situation which requires you to break a good habit. It is possible if you reflect on it. So essentially speaking, what the guy was saying, that you should not have any habit. What you should have is that you do the thing which is required in a given circumstances. Forget about habit. This is what he's saying. He's saying that look at the situation, look what is happening, look in the environment, see what is going on, and do what is required to be done in that moment. Forget about habits. Just do what it requires you to do. So right now we are having discussion. Forget about habit. Forget about that you talk or you don't talk or whatever. This situation requires you to say something, to participate in the discussion. If that is what it is, then you just do that. There will be some situations where it does not require you to give your own point of view. Don't do it in that. So what the guy is saying that forget about habits, just form a personality that you do the things which are required in that moment. This moment wants you or requires from you that you sit down and you study. You just sit down and you study. Forget about habits. Because this time requires you to study, you just do that. And vice and so on. So you can think about it. It's an interesting thought. Because according to the guy, he's saying that once you have habits, you become slave of them. Then you just keep on doing that again and again. So based on him, it should not be habits, it should be understanding the situation and doing what is required from that situation, whatever it is required. You like it or you don't like it. If a situation wants you to be angry, mad, whatever, be that, because the situation requires you to show your anger. On the other hand, a situation requires you to show your compassion, mercy, be that, be that. A situation requires you to speak softly, speak softly. A situation requires you to shout, shout. Whatever that situation requires you, just do that. So forget about habits. So this is the point which came to my mind when our friend spoke about comfort zone. Very interesting. Yes, next one, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so I understand about the fact that having an incentive would mainly lead to a temporary change, while you being open or you doing it just because you think that will impact you will make the change more influential in your life. But sometimes the incentive can help that to become something permanent, because what if you go to another country and they said, okay, then this is a new dish, and if you try it, I'll pay you a certain amount of money. What if you try the dish and then you find out that you love the dish? Then that would impact your life, or even in other situations, and then you something that you continue to do. And as I said before, that change, that things shouldn't be habitual, that you should learn how to put yourself in certain situations. For example, you said that it's exam time, so we should know that okay, it's exam time, so we should develop a habit of studying, and then when it's over, this is leisure time, we can do whatever we want. So it just depends on the person and the situation with change, but overall I think that person should be open to change, and that you shouldn't just want to change because of something, but you should try to change because of the situation that you're in and how you will know that it will impact your life, whether positive or negative.
Of course, very good points. And please take note of what our friend is saying, Janelle is saying, and then link it with the comments Sheldon made. I think they can, if you think about both of these, what Janelle is saying and what Sheldon is saying, you can find some balance for yourself, what works for you, and then decide how to move, where to give incentives and where not to give incentives, what are you trying to achieve, and so on. Yes, next one, please. Go ahead. Some people have raised their hands. If they are not going to speak, if they can lower their hands. Otherwise, please go ahead.
So, sir, I think that culture is everything.
So you're hearing me?
Yes, please go ahead, Jody. Please go ahead.
So I think culture is everything. It is totally the way of life of a group of people. I believe it's important. It binds us together as one. There is culture on many levels: school, family, and so on. Also, I believe that it is important as it helps us to understand yourself a little bit. Practicing your culture helps you to identify your place of origin. So at the end of the day, you will realize each of us are connected in some way, shape, or form to our different culture. For example, an individual who, at an interview with a particular company, is or her first day, normally do is pray. Culture in terms of religion change. What the manager normally does is pray before it company begins its operation. But this person that is an ungodly pray doesn't believe in those things. So it's just adapt to that change, realizing that every morning before work, pray with the manager, or he or she is going to walk away, find another company to get another job.
Yes, interesting points Jody has raised. You can think the way you would want, but I would not, I'm sure you did not. When we say culture is everything, we don't really mean that culture is everything. What we maybe mean is that culture is very important because of the scope of change management. Uh, one might not want to say that one thing is everything. But yes, if you feel that culture is that important, that it is a make or break deal for you, it is everything, by all means, go ahead. Uh, so if you think that culture is everything, yes. Personally speaking, I would not say culture is everything. I would say culture is very important. But I think we are saying the same thing. It is just the way of saying. Yes, next one, please go ahead. Oksana, Renesha, you have raised your hand. Please go ahead if you are going to say something.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, I think culture is not just important in the religious aspect. There are also social aspect of culture and culture in the organization as well as in a person's social life is important. I think people tend to shy away from culture. I think this is because they do not want to let go of certain traits, certain habits. So, in the discussion so far, I hear persons speaking on religious aspect, but to me, culture is far more than religion. It has to do with individual, how they treat, how they adapt to certain situations. Because to me, it is basically a person's mindset. So people can change, and I don't think culture is one of the reasons why people shy away from change. It's because of what they think personally, why they restrict or why they refuse to adapt to change.
Very interesting way to think about this, so all of us can reflect on this. Let me take the discussion a little bit forward. So we have tried to set a context, that what is culture, why it is important, what is the significance. You guys have given some examples, start of the discussion, but let's take it a little bit further. So let me ask you that, if someone wants to uh, get successful in cultural change, which is the topic of discussion, today's discussion. Can you give them some best practices, some things which they should do? So, in other words, please give us some best practices, some things which should be done to get successful in cultural change. So, you guys have said some things about cultural change. So, next question here is that what are some of the things which should be done or can be done so that the changes in culture become successful? What are some of the things we can do? Yeah. So please reflect on this. So again, one more time, the question is that cultural changes are very hard. We have established that, but there must be something which we can do to make it a little bit more easy, more successful. So what are some of the things which we can do uh, so that we can make cultural changes a little bit more successful? How to make cultural change more successful? What are some of the best practices? What are some of the guidelines which we can think about? That, okay, do this and you would be more successful in bringing cultural change. Do that. Anything you can say on that? So again, the question is that please give us some pointers which would help us to make cultural changes a little bit more successful. Yeah, please go ahead.
I think once the person truly understands, like for many classes that we have discussed in terms of change, the whole point of change and the whole succession of change is understanding. And if person truly understands the value or importance of the change. Sometimes, and I wanted to say this in a previous class, that persons change through inspiration. That once they see someone who acts a certain way or behaves a certain way, depending on how influential that person can be, another person can replicate or take a page out of that person's book and then in turn can create a successful change.
Very good pointers. Thanks for that. So our friend is talking about understanding, that is very important. She's talking about inspiration, people you can look up to, and so on. Yeah. So please think about these things which she has mentioned. But again, let me repeat my question. Uh, so what I'm trying to ask are what are there any best practices, anything which we can do to make cultural changes more difficult? So yes, they are hard, we know that, but we need to find some ways. We need to find out, okay, do this, do that, do that to make cultural changes more easy, more successful. So the question is, what are some of the things we can do to make cultural changes more successful? So a couple of pointers are given here, understanding, inspiration, and so on. But please go ahead and try to give some pointers. Yes.
Sir, I would say one way in which to make cultural change easier for everybody is that, let's say for example you have two people. One person has achieved success in his way of doing things, but the other person from the get-go doesn't really achieve success in his particular way of doing things. So what that person who has achieved success using his way of doing things can tell the other person that, okay, I think you should do this because if you do it this way, it will work out. Because what that person will be doing in us, sir, you will be showing him like the opportunity or the result at the end of the road based on his experience. So I guess one way to really confirm that, okay, maybe you should try my style instead is that, look at my experience. I have success in the past. So showing them the desired way of doing things will ultimately make that person want to do it as well. So I think that's
We're not hearing you, sweet.
Yes, very interesting point. So what our friend spoke about is success stories. That is very important. Success stories. So you are trying to change, because think about it, culture, you don't change culture of the company or culture of a family or culture of an individual. You don't change the culture. You pick up 1 point or 2 points in the culture of whatever, and then you try to modify those pointers. You cannot change all of the culture together. You pick points, whatever points are relevant for you, and you try to change them, of course thinking that you change 1 point, it will have some fallout impact on other points. So what our friend mentioned is very important. Success stories. So whatever you are trying to change, you would want to find out, are there other people in the same type of business, in same type of situation, who have or who are able to successfully manage that transition, successfully manage that change? Are there any people? Once once that is there, you just understand how they did that and try to do your own thing based on that. I would refrain from saying replicate the thing, because you can't really replicate the same thing. You just learn how they did it, and then you have to understand your own situation and then implement it. That is why multiple times I mentioned this in our face-to-face also, and in our discussions also, that whenever you are in a change situation, you will always find other people who have been in that situation and they were successful in coming out of that. You will hear the success stories, and then there will be some people from whom you get some type of inspiration, and you say, oh, this person knows what change management is about, and let me ask them and whatever. And once you ask them, knowingly or unknowingly, because you are influenced by them, because they are your inspiration, because you like them very much, for you, you are going to say, okay, let me do it like that, because you look up to that person, because they have more experience, because they are more knowledgeable, because they had the success story. You will say, all right, let me do it like that. I really want to, take a moment and tell you that please do not do that. Please do not. Based on my experience, you will have your own experience. My experience is that you should not replicate the same thing. My experience is that you should look into your inspirations. You should look into all good things which Brandon mentioned, success stories and all those things. Please do that. After that, understand your own situation, understand yourself, understand the other parties which you are going to influence, and then tailor your story based on your situation. Don't just replicate anything. It will backfire. It will backfire. So no matter how influential the other person is, no matter how much they make sense, let's say we are having a discussion and there are some things which really made sense to you, and you have been making some notes, and you have like 10-12 notes throughout the semesters, and you say, all right, whenever I am in the change situation, I'm going to do these, and there are some models which you like, and you are saying, all right, in the change situation, I'm going to replicate these models. Please do not do that. Please. Those models, these insights, these discussions are just there for you to reflect. Your job is to understand yourself, understand the other parties, understand the situation, and then think what will work and what will not work in your circumstances. Change is very much dependent on circumstances. One friend mentioned time in some other session. I don't remember in which session, but that friend mentioned timing. So timing, circumstances, personality types, you need to think about those also. Yeah. One more time, I would want to pose the question. Let's see if we can get something out of that. Please try to participate, try to say something. So what I'm trying to ask is that, are there any best practices which we can use when we are in the cultural change? So the change is easier, so we are successful in the change process. So cultural change, please give us any best practices, any ways to be successful, and so on. So forth. Some friends have mentioned good points. Success stories, very important. Inspirations, how people have done it in the past, very important. Understanding, one friend mentioned that, very important. But are there any other things which you think are worth mentioning, so that when anyone is going through the change, cultural change, for them to be more successful, what are some of the things they can do? Please go ahead. In simple words, how to achieve cultural change successfully. How to achieve successful cultural change. How to do that? Please give us some insight.
I think it's important to take it step by step, not just force the change on a person or on the organization, but build on what you already have. So take it step by step, move slowly, and not just force a process of change on people, because people respond and react to change differently.
Very good point. Um but again, it does not mean that this is how you should do it always. That is not what our friend meant. She's just saying that this is one of the ways in which you can do. So one of the ways is doing it by step. Don't force on others, because if you force anything on the culture, because culture is collective, if you force something, they might react in a way that you are gone out of the culture. That can happen also. So you have to understand the power of collaboration of a culture if it starts working against you. So interesting point. Should think on that. Any other things? How to make cultural change successful? What are some of the things we can do? If someone talks with you and you are saying, oh, I did a course in cultural change management, I did a course on change management, and the person asks, oh, we are going through some cultural changes in our organization, or in our culture of our family, we are trying to do these things. Can you give us some insight how we can be more successful? What would you tell to your friend if your friend asks you, oh, my company is going through some cultural change, what can we do? How should we go about it? Give us some thoughts. What would you tell them? Would you tell them something, or you will tell them something?
Similarities within the cultures and try to work on that so that the differences would come easily.
Please, everyone, make note of this point. I think this is worth gold. Very very useful technique to go in to use when you are managing cultural change. Very useful technique. So our friend is saying, talking about similarities. That is why a while ago I mentioned that you don't change a culture, not everything. You pick some points in the culture and then you try to change them. So if there are some points, then of course in any culture you want to change, there must be some things which you like. Any person you want to change. Think about any person, your family member, your whoever, your brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend, anyone, you want to change someone. You don't want to change everything about them. I'm sure if you think there are many good things in the person, in the team, in the organization which you like, so those things you can take as similarities. So that is a good way to start. That okay, you tell the person, you tell the team, you tell the organization that in the culture I have identified these 10 things. There are 10 things in the culture. Let's say there are 10. So out of those 10, these 5 things I like, I love them. I don't want to change anything about these 5 things in the culture of you as an individual, as a culture of the team, as the culture of the organization. These 5 things, I love them. Don't want to touch them. Now 5 are left. Out of those 5, these 3, I like them. They are very good. We can continue with these things. But then there are these 2 which might want to change something. So you have identified some similarity with the remaining 8. So there are 2, only 2. Even from that 2, you might want to say there is only 1, because you don't want to pressurize the other person, other whatever team, by telling them that you need to change this and this. Maybe one step at a time, as some other friend mentioned, step by step. Because think about this, if you tell someone person, well, I don't like the way you comb your hair, I don't like the way you speak, I don't like how you are moving your hands like 10 10 10 like this, I don't like your accent, I just don't even like your color, so these are so many things I don't like. So how you are going to change the person? The person is just, no one likes that you tell them that you don't like them, you don't like this. Same way in the culture, no culture likes that you tell the culture that this is not good, this is not good, this is not good. No culture like this. People who use those culture, they don't like it, they will start hating you. On the other hand, if you tell them this is not good, this is not good. So you have to be very mindful. And even with that one thing which you might want to tell in the culture, that you don't like that thing and that one thing needs to change, based on my experience, the little I have, I would say you really have to think that, do you really want to tell that one thing that you don't like this thing? If you are going to tell, how should you go about that? Because although you can say that, oh, there are 9 things which which I like, only one thing which I am asking you to change, it should not be hard. But generally speaking, people remember the negative comments more than the positive ones, generally speaking. And once you try to change that one thing, it is in all likelihood, it is possible that it will change the other 7 8 things which you liked in some way. So you have to be very careful how you word it, how what is your technique. Either you are going to say step by step, or you are going to take some empathy approach. You are going to give people some time, a lot of time. We spoke about Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, in last session. How much time Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, gave to other people to say that, to come on his side. How much time in his lifetime, in the lifetime of Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, how much time he gave to other people to come on his side, or any other prophet, or those type of religious people? How much time they gave? A lot of time, a lot of time. And then when people are not changing, culture is not changing, wherever those people are, these prophets are, wherever they are, if the culture is not changing, how much time they are giving, how much, step by step, step by step, step by step, over a period of time. So that is just one approach. Other approach is that you just change the culture, just everything, just in a go. That is also possibility. Many companies do that. So they will let go the employees who are working before, and they will just bring the new culture. Sometimes some external situation is going to force you to change the culture.